Right at it. Right at it. Oh,
Jordan
he's
Spieth.
done it again. Just as he did at the John Deere for his first win.
Welcome to episode 155 of the Go Get That podcast. Dan, Jordan, no Bob tonight as we recap the Truist Championship from Philly Cricket Club. Was happy to be out there with Bob, even though he can't join us tonight. Was a fun week for our YouTube viewers. You can see I got red, got some sun. Had a mix of weather during the whole week. Friday was raining cats and dogs, but obviously by my color, as you could see, we did get some sun, got a cool golf course, got a score that wasn't too low. Yeah, just a fun overall week. It's always a pleasure being able to go. I don't really take it for granted the situation I'm in to be able to go to events and see Jordan play in person and just go to tour events. It's uh always a privilege to be able to go bring that, I guess, firsthand look into the podcast, our social media platforms, kind of give you the best behind the scenes looks. Yeah, it's a fun week. Happy to be here with Dan tonight to, chop up Philly cricket. And obviously it's going to be impossible to not talk any PGA Championship with Jordan going for the Grand Slam this week. But yeah, good to see you, Dan.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. I was I guess unlucky not to make it out to Philly, but it was still a fun watch on ESPN Plus. Turned the volume down. Commentary was not great this week. And we don't have to get into that here, but regardless, fun week. I like the golf course. I appreciate that it played more difficult than people thought. I think it played Opar Friday, Saturday.
Yeah,
Not sure that
sounds
it
about
did.
right. Yep.
I'm not sure that it did Sunday. But 16 under is a pretty reasonable winning score. You had some separation, which I think suggests that, we talk about this sometimes in terms of what makes a golf course a proper test is the ability for guys to create separation, right? I think Lowry and Straka were the two best players this week. Obviously, Thomas is playing some good golf and kind of got himself in the mix there a little bit. But I thought it stood up to these guys. It's not a super long course. I think they put the pins in some spots that certainly the members do not see. Um, make it quite tough. And you got a mix of weather, a little wind on Saturday, and some mix of rain and wind on Friday, which was nice and kind of enjoyable to sit back, sit back and watch, particularly on Saturday. But overall, fun week. I think it went about as well as, from like a neutral golf fan perspective. I think it went about as well as it could have. Cool winner. Like I think nobody dislikes Straka that much. We'll see if that changes come Bethpage Black and he just starts, running through the American team. But cool course. I think everybody, Northeast courses we don't get a lot of. And the design is different, the greens are different, and it just plays different. Cool mix of holes, like the 14th playing at 95 yards on Sunday, I thought was pretty awesome. And then they also had a 253-yard par three, number 8, I believe. So that mix, I think, is, exciting and entertaining and makes it fun to watch. So great week. It would have been nice if Mr. Spieth was more in the picture, and I'm sure we'll get into that here either now or in just a little bit. But overall, I think I would have no issues going back to Mr. Cricket Club in the future, although obviously it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. But it was a nice substitute moment for it, a nice little shift off the bench, so to speak. And I'm curious to hear what kind of your takeaways were from walking it and being there in person for 5 days.
Yeah, it was a fun Fun course. It's kind of funny. I haven't really like looked at any of the TV coverage. I mean, we were eating in some restaurants after the round, and obviously in the local area they had it on TV. But besides that, I wasn't really watching that intently. It's always interesting to kind of see how it looks on TV, how it presents on there compared to what you see with your eyes in person.
Yeah.
Because I mean, most of the golf we watch is on TV. So like we look at the screen, you see maybe a greater visual than what you see when you're there. Um, but yeah, it was kind of as Bob and I predicted. I mean, we saw it play really easy on Thursday. I mean, it played under what, three shots
Yeah.
plus under par on Thursday, and then we got some weather and not all hell broke loose, but it showed some teeth. It played over par at 7,100 yards, which was pretty cool. In terms of walking the grounds, it was a really, I mean, I've been, again, as I said earlier, opening the podcast, I've been fortunate enough to go to quite a few events over the last few years. And I mean, it, in terms of walking it and like seeing the golf in person, I mean, there weren't really like any like areas where you couldn't see shots played. The only shot that we really couldn't see was 3T because I think down the left side you got a road, so it's not on property. And then anyway, you couldn't really see 3T shot. That was about the only shot in the course that we really couldn't see. Just because by the time we shuffled over to three green, you gotta take a route to get there. But viewing was great. It was a very walkable golf course. It wasn't that hot. It's actually kind of funny. I got yelled at by my mother when I got home for being sunburned. And I'm like, Ma, this was like from Wednesday. Wednesday was like the hottest day of the week, and this is it still hasn't worn off. But yeah, it was a great watch. It's always cool to see some of the behind the scenes stuff, from the range. Just a lot of like the logistical stuff that you don't see watching the golf on the TV. And yeah, getting into Jordan, it was obviously a disappointing week. It was pretty funny because Bob and I got there probably 45 minutes to an hour early every day, and it's Sunday. Sunday just started off poorly. He showed up without his belt, which was just phenomenal stuff. And then Sunday was by far the worst range session of the week for him, which was interesting because we saw kind of how it carried into the round. And this is why it's cool to kind of see the range sessions in person, just to kind of have a perspective of like, was it good on the range? Was it bad on the range? Is it going to carry in? Is it not? And lo and behold, Sunday was a pretty poor range session. Had a lot of quick lefts off the tee, and then you look at the ball striking numbers from Sunday, and it's like, yeah, it looks probably pretty similar to what happened on the range. On the range Sunday, I mean, he was bad shot going to look at the phone. I assume there's video swings on there he's looking at. So it's just little stuff going in person that's kind of cool to see. And yeah, it was fun to follow him for 5 straight days. Never really had his best stuff at any point all week, but yeah, I mean, probably disappointing overall week, but uh could have been worse, I guess. What's your kind of takeaway from the whole week, Dan, in terms of the play?
Yeah, I think disappointing is fair. I'm not sure it's the word that I would use. I think I kind of knew this week the course fit wasn't great. Um, so I wasn't really expecting like super contention. Playing Thursday the way that he did uh was kind of disappointing, but I think it was a pretty big switch up from how Ranch played. Um, and he said it in his PGA presser today, just some mistakes that you can't really make at sort of shorter ballparks, Northeast courses, right? You have to miss in certain spots and be a little bit less aggressive at times. There's certain shots you have to play in terms of taking spin off. Like I remember watching one on maybe Friday when it was really raining and it was kind of in that bowl, but if you got it to the top of the bowl, the back of the green, it would spin through the bowl and down into the front of the green.
That was on seven, right?
I mean, it possibly could have been on seven. I was thinking about one as well, just playing it back into the wind a little bit too. Like guys would hit it up there inside of 8, 10 feet where it lands and it kind of hops and then it checks and then it grabs and then it rips hard and you're not keeping it in that bowl. And those are just the kind of shots that um to hit well, I think you either have to get a little bit lucky, like you mishit it slightly and it takes a little spin off, or you've just been working on your game for more than 5 months, 6 months at a high level. And so I'm not, trying to, I don't think that was all of the shots. I think there were plenty of not very good shots this week. And it is, I think the disappointing part is that the iron play momentum didn't carry over. I don't think it's, again, I've kind of been saying this all season. I don't think it's as bad as the way the numbers look sometimes. When on the weeks where the iron play isn't great, I think it's closer than it looks there. Um, I think some of it's shot selection. I think some of it's lie judgment. I think some of it is, uh, to me, it seems like there's less and less of just totally uncommitted, which is nice. I think it's just about execution, and execution is hard sometimes. I'm willing to chalk it up as just kind of a didn't really have it week. Um, and that's fine. I mean, a T34 is a T34. You're not gonna feel overly great about that, but I don't think there's reason to be like hit the panic button like everything is has gone awry and there's no chance he does anything proper this season, right? Like he still shot what? I mean, we texted a little bit about this, but his floor is seemingly pretty high. I know the 70 on Thursday um was 3.5 shots worse than the field average, which is kind of insane to think about. Uh, but it's still a 70. Like it's not it sort of took him out of the tournament, but it didn't take him out of a good finish the way a 73 or 74 does, right? Going four over par um in a round like that, like grinding out a 70, I think is great. Sunday was kind of ugly and it he was one under through 17. Um Saturday scrambled his butt off. Friday played a pretty solid round overall. So I think there's signs of like the floor is higher, and I think that was a little more confirmed this week, and that's how you get a not great week that ends in a T34, whereas last year a not great week was a miscut or a T64. Um, and I think it's easy to take that for granted. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I didn't see a whole lot watching that I was like, oh, that's super troublesome, but I didn't see a whole lot like, man, I can't like next week is gonna be so great. I think it's just gonna be another week of trying to make progress, and we'll see if he just gets hot with certain areas of the bag.
Yeah, I think that's
Did you
well
see?
put.
I
Go
was
ahead.
gonna say, did you see anything? Because like on I watched most of Saturday and the early part of Sunday, and some of the bad shots just looked like slightly mechanical, maybe a little rushed, but also like he would talk after and he'd be like, I just like slightly misjudged that, or it was a good swing, Mikey, but I, you know, just not the right shot shape. And to me, that says there's some commitment and there's a level of understanding that it's not all the way there. But like I thought the balance, like the swings didn't look bad. I think there's the execution wasn't great. And I'm curious if you felt that way on the course or if you feel more like, oh, there were some swings that are just not really what I want to see this far down the road.
I think it's probably more of the former. It's tough because I think a lot of the time when I was on course, I was at the green when the approaches were being hit. So I wasn't able to, I mean, you probably heard the conversations way better than I did just because I wasn't standing there. Um, but yeah, I would say, yeah, I mean, those more, I think, decisions, I think he kind of alluded to it in his, presser today. Um, just some mistakes that were made. I mean, there are definitely some bad shots that were hit. I mean, It's actually crazy. I posted I think my Thursday like recap post. The video I used was him dropping the club directly after contact. Um, so mechanically, probably not a great strike there. But yeah, I mean, I was watching him into greens from 150, 200 yards away, 100 yards away, where I was standing, and it's like he's holding the follow through. It's like he thinks it's probably a pretty good strike, and the result just wasn't great. Um, so yeah, it's actually kind of funny. I was the point that you make about the high floor. I was thinking about that a little bit earlier today and even right now, and you're right. I mean, I'm just looking at his data golf page. He's been, and this isn't like anything to really toot your horn about, but I mean, he's been above average in every event since the Genesis.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, he was a solo 59th at the Players, but they still had him gaining 5.15 strokes per round there. So not a good performance per se, but like he hasn't lost strokes in an event since the Genesis. And yeah, I mean, I think the floor is a little bit higher just looking at 2024. I mean, he went, he's what, 8 straight events in a row gaining strokes in some way, shape, or form. Granted, with it solo 59th included in there. Not saying it's a good week at all, but you go back and look at 24, and his longest stretch was 5 weeks, where from Century to API last year. So you're talking January to what, March of 2024. So yeah, floor is definitely higher this year. I think you've kind of continued to rock that, and I'd agree. I mean, I think for the most part, his bad rounds are typically, you always want the bad rounds to be about average in terms of, compared to par or compared to scoring average. And for the most part, he's done a good job. I mean, Thursday wasn't, you kind of alluded to it. I mean, 70 is not the end of the world, but still lost 3.5 strokes to average that day. And I guess statistically it was his worst round of the week. But yeah, I hope I could somewhat answer your question there regarding your first question regarding like
Yeah.
the whole mechanical slash, was it more mechanical or more decision making? I think it's tough to tell. Especially it's part of the thing that sucks about being on course when you're standing 100, 200 yards away is for all the issues PGA Tour Live has, they do a good job of providing insight with the boom mics of like what's going on, what he's
Yeah.
trying to do.
Right.
Um, but yeah, he was holding the follow through quite a bit. It seemed on a lot of approaches, and they just didn't end up close, which is hopefully a good sign as we enter this week.
Yeah. And he talked about it just kind of being an off week. And I think that happens sometimes, right? You know, Scheffler's off week is absurdly high. Same with McIlroy. But frankly, to compare Spieth to them right now is you're doing yourself a disservice because that's like comparing. Well, I'll think of a comparison that's like, but it's they're not even close. They're not even in the same tier of golfer at the moment, and I understand that maybe the name might be in the same tier, but I think sometimes it's easy to like assume that given the name, the golf has to be better or is gonna be better than what it is. Like the name gives +5 to shot accuracy or whatever each week, and it just doesn't. He's a top data golf has him at 27 right now. I think that's about right. He's been playing consistently slightly better than the field for a couple months now. Feels about right. Um, it's just a matter of kind of getting in the mix again and seeing what happens there. But I think to the point about the floor, like the putter helps. It was a bad Thursday on the greens. I think he lost what, two on the greens on Thursday ish. But then bounced right back and uh had a decent day Friday, really good day Saturday. And then I think another solid-ish day on Sunday. So that's kind of part of the floor, right? You make putts, your floor is going to increase. I thought the short game was brilliant this week, which is encouraging. It'll be kind of a different short game test at Quail, but it's nice to see him hit shots that you kind of track and you're like, the wand emoji is out, or it's just a simple like LOL because it's ridiculously some of the shot I think down the stretch on Sunday, I guess, like bumping them into the rough a few times. It's luck, right? But it's also like it takes some creativity and some imagination to have the trust to hit that shot because if he doesn't commit to it, it's not going to work out for sure. So, um, I think that's kind of the play going into leading into weeks going forward until the iron game kind of straightens itself out, but particularly the wedge game. I think the long irons maybe have been good, but there weren't a ton of them this week, but I didn't feel like those were not great. It just the wedge game has some moments of the sinking and timing isn't great. Um, but until that all gets kind of cleaned up, it's like, all right, can he have a good week off the tee around the green and putting, and then just get hot with the irons the way somebody might get hot with the putter? And I think that's the mix that because he's shown he can pop with the irons, and I think that's the mix that you get like a really good result. Um, and it just didn't happen this week at the cricket club. He was behind the eight ball, as we've mentioned. I mean, the scoring average, 66 and a half scoring average for a tour event is crazy. Um, so it was a nice bounce back by the G course on Friday and Saturday. But he started behind the eight ball. I think a T34 it is what it is. It's okay. Nothing to write home about, nothing to cry about. I think it's just another week that was healthy. He learned a few things, and we get ready for next week. So helps too coming off a solo four, right? Like if you're gonna trade a little bit of inconsistency, at least the results also are inconsistent in the way that you get a at Ranch, you at least had a pop finish, right? Because it'd be a little different if we were rocking with, two T22s or whatever. I think I'd be feeling a slightly different about where we're at now. But yeah, I think that's kind of sums up most of my thoughts on the week for his week at Cricket Club. Um, and I think his comments, if you haven't, I would go check out uh the either the script or or am I blanking on it? The video of his press conference for the PGA. He touches on some things from the Truist. The questions were like decent. Uh and yeah, did you have a favorite like hole? I mean, if you have more speed thoughts, you can get into them too, but I'm just
It's a great
did you have a
question.
favorite hole to watch or a favorite spot to where you could see a lot of stuff from?
This is a great question, Dan. Um, I liked one a lot. I liked that elevated green. I
Yeah.
mean, the tee shot there was kind of meh, but I mean, it was just an iron for most guys. But oh, that's actually not true. Theodore Bjornsson drove it through the green. So one was cool with the elevated green. It was fun watching shots go in there. I like seven with the bunker complex short that Spieth found himself in, which wasn't great, but a loss. Let's see. 11 was cool, especially because he hit it into the culinary area on Sunday. And I got right up close and personal right behind him, and he hit a really good iron shot there from the rough. And Greller had a fun interaction with the fan there saying, "You're already 2 feet away from him. Don't you think you're close enough?" Telling him to move back. So that was cool. Plus, you had that little speed slope there where if you hit the fairway, it went like down to the bottom, which I think he did on Saturday, I want to say.
Yeah.
So that hole was cool. 14 was cool, but the problem we could see the tee shot on 14, but the gates were typically like the cross was typically closed when we were trying to get over there. So we barely saw it there. Just rethinking. Tee box on 7 was a good little spot to get my favorite behind behind view that I posted on Wednesday of like the full swing that I sent you. I think I texted you that video.
Yeah.
Um, 16 was cool where it was in the press. 16 was like right next to the driving range. So you got some cool little views there. Yeah, it was cool. It's kind of funny. You mentioned how we're not in the, you brought up Rory just not being in his stratosphere at the moment, which is true. But what I found pretty cool was his little pre-tournament press conference that he did at Truist. He's like, strategy here is just to bomb and gouge it. And then you look at how it played, and it's like it did not play as a bomb and gouge golf course. Just looking at some of the statistics, I mean, it looks like it favored accuracy over distance. And I think the leaderboard would probably do a pretty good job of showing that. I mean, Sepp doesn't hit it far.
Yeah, Lowry for sure is and one of the
Yeah.
more accurate drivers on tour.
Yeah. Fleetwood's not that. I mean, Fleetwood doesn't hit it that far. Bridgman was T4. He doesn't hit it that far. It was you had to find fairways. I mean, I do think it was a little bit of a putting contest.
Yeah.
Looking at some of the numbers, I mean,
Check Bridgman's numbers are absurd.
yeah, Bridgman was first in putting, Straka was second. But it was not by any stretch of the imagination a bomb and gouge golf course. It was you had to hit fairways to attack. Um, and the rough wasn't up, but the green complexes were like so severe and they were still relatively firm even with the rain. And when they did get soft, you had to control the spin. I mean, you had to be playing from the fairway.
Yeah.
So it
Like
was,
a few jumpers too out of the rough.
yeah, no,
Or
you had to be
you
playing.
had to judge the lie a little bit at least.
Yeah. So yeah, I appreciated how it played. It wasn't a bomb and gouge golf course. Which as we transfer or go into this week at Quail Hollow, where I do think it'll be more bomb and gougey, which is kind of what I was texting you. Which I don't hate for Mr. Spieth.
No,
I mean, we're gonna do a live podcast tomorrow. This will be out Wednesday morning. Hopefully you're listening. Tonight we'll be doing our live PGA Championship preview, but did my model already, a little bit of sneak peeks. Spieth's a positive course fit at Quail Hollow for me, not majorly, but Dan and I texted Dan already about what I think the game plan is going to need to be for Spieth at the PGA. And yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, Dan kind of said it well. It's the Cricket Club was not really a good co course. I mean, comparing Cricket Club and Quail Hollow, you really can't do. Um, they're completely different golf courses. Um, so yeah, I don't, it's kind of funny just going back to when we were doing the Masters preview and we were talking about how we play Valero the week before and how it should be
better
Houston
fit.
because
Yeah.
the first two majors of the year, I'm sure Bob would argue this as well. Um, the event running up to the major is an exact opposite of the type of course that the major is. So interesting. Um, just a random little thought there.
Yeah. No, it is. I think Ranch is probably a better quail comp than Cricket Club, just in terms of some of the length, some of the shots, in terms of long iron play. I think typically leading in the PGA, right? Like Quail is the tune up for the PGA. Um, and that's a much better fit with a lot of the PGA style golf courses. Uh, and you mentioned a little bit. So I think just part of that is not that you can just like toss this week aside, but I don't think this week's like a great indicator. How you played at the cricket club, I don't think is a super great indicator for how things are going to go at Quail. Um, very different courses, going to require a different test of golf, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fun. I know it's been and we're getting into PGA stuff, but it's hard not to. I know it's been raining. It's going to rain, I think, a little bit more tomorrow, Wednesday. I don't think it's going to rain during the tournament, although that could change because it's going to be pretty warm and muggy, and whenever that's the case, a pop-up shower or two could occur. Um, Uh, I say that now. There's some projected rain for Sunday, but I think they've got the sub air on those greens. Quail's going to be a beast. It's going to play hard. Greens are still going to be firm, um, which I think is fantastic. There's going to be a premium on hitting the fairway, even though it'll be a little bit more bomb and gougey. But I think the being able to hit the fairway with the greens still being firm is going to be paramount. But I do think distance is now it's always required at Quail, but because the fairways are probably going to be a little softer, I think the Harmons of the world may struggle a little bit. The Brian Campbells, um, the Zach Johnsons, if he's even in the field. But
It's actually funny that you mentioned the bomb and gouge component of Quail, because in my model, do you know who the worst course fit is?
is it Bryson? It
No.
can't be Bryson. It's got to be. I for some reason I was like, man, you're gonna. It's is it Campbell?
No. It's Sepp Straka.
Really
Yeah.
interesting
Yeah. Yeah.
because he flushes the ball.
He does, but he's not long and his short game is not very good. And I think short
Okay,
game will be important. Uh,
interesting.
yeah, it's funny.
Where's where's Bryson's probably like second,
Well,
or maybe it's hard with the live guys.
Bryson is uh he's positive. Where is he?
Is his short game like what's maybe knocking him down your model a little bit?
Well, he's number one overall in the model.
Oh,
He's just the course fit component. He's a little bit lower and
oh, gotcha. Okay.
um
Oh, so Straka's okay. I
he's the
thought
worst
you,
course fit. He's not worst in the model.
yeah, not okay. That's starting to click.
He is 44th in the model though. It's just kind of low. But
Yeah, but it makes sense if the short game is, and that's kind of what we're saying. Like he just won at Cricket Club, and now he's the
yeah.
worst course fit. And Cricket Club and Quail are very different courses. So
Yeah. And he's kind of just looking or getting in the PGA because of course we have to a little bit. But yeah, he's had two missed cuts, a T54 and a T8 at Quail in his career, Straka. I don't think it'll be a sub week.
no,
Um,
it's a
but
great year for him though.
yeah, he won the Truist losing strokes around the green, which is you don't
That's
see all the
impressive.
time. Yeah, he's not a very good short game player. It's actually interesting. I was thinking about this, and you kind of mentioned like how you're still gonna need to hit fairways. I think when they like are doing course maintenance for a major, I think more work goes into it than when they like the tour does their own maintenance with it. I think the PGA of America puts like hours and hours and hours into making sure the course plays the way they want, whereas the tour gets on site when they do. I mean, you obviously have, the green staff at Quail Hollow, but I think there's a greater emphasis put on course condition for majors than it is. Because kind of interesting. Like I was looking at like historical stats for how the PGA played in 2017 compared to where like how it usually plays for the Wells Fargo or the Truist now, and that US Open, the J or not US Open, the PGA, the JT one, you had to hit fairways that week. And I kind of look at how it plays for the Wells Fargo in the past, Truist now, it's like those weeks fairways weren't as important. So maybe it's just a coincidence, but in 17, the way that golf course played, it played 2.47 shots over par for the week. Like you had to hit fairways that week and you had to hit it far. Whereas most, tour weeks at that golf course, fairways aren't necessarily a premium. Um, that's interesting when I was doing my research for triple double, which I'll give my picks away tomorrow. You're not getting them today. Or
Mhm.
you'll get them tonight if you're listening to the live podcast tonight with this podcast coming out Wednesday morning. I'll phrase it like that.
Yeah. It's I mean the third major of the year, plenty of excitement and ultimately like Quail, is it should it be hosting a major in terms of like entertainment, in terms of it's already a tour course? No, but it's a tough test. Like it's worthy of um it's a golf course that can stand up to the modern game and go punch for punch with it. I think that's what was kind of cool about the cricket club was that it stood up to the modern game and it got a little help, but it from Mother Nature, of course. But it didn't stand up and go, right hook for right hook with McIlroy. It it had some kind of deception and some left jabs and some head movement, I guess, that made it tricky to really have the knockout punch. And I think that that was a nice mix on a PGA Tour that is starting to have golf courses turn more into trying to have them stand up and play punch for punch, when in reality, I think some of the like the cricket clubs, the Colonials, the Harbor Towns, that when they get a little bit of help from Mother Nature, they can, you know, they can hang too. That's actually like I don't know if you watch much YouTube golf, but I watched the Grant Horvat Scotty Scheffler match, and Scheffler was saying that he wants to get into course design because he was kind of alluding to places like Quail or like Craig Ranch that are just like big, beefy golf courses. They just make them bigger and they take out more trees. And he's like, no, we need more trees and we need more, you have to hit a shot to a spot on every swing is kind of what I was interpreting him saying. He said Augusta does it really well, which is unsurprising because Augusta National is Augusta National for a reason, right? But um, not that the cricket club had a lot of trees, but you had to hit a shot to a spot on a lot of, even off the tee. Because into the greens you always have to do that at any course, but I think off the tee is where it's lacking in the modern game. Um, and so I appreciated that this week. Um,
Speed had
and
every club in the bag this week. Yeah, I mean there were irons off of tees. Um,
Yeah, hybrid wood
yeah,
three driver. I mean, it was the whole package. You got, like I said, on Sunday the par threes, you had a little lob wedge and you had a full bore hybrid in the par threes. And like
full blown
that's
hybrid over the green.
right. Yes, that was a little bit of a pull there. Um, or a the tiniest of double crosses, I think. Uh,
Yeah,
but
probably
yeah,
the only person that was long and left on eight all Sunday, maybe all week, but
maybe. Yeah, it's I mean, I think if he hits the cut shot that he's trying to, it's probably like 3 feet. You know what I'm saying? Like it's one of those where it's like a perfect cut hybrid number, and he just got a little on top of it and yanked it. I mean, we're jumping into PGA stuff here, but it's been nice to see. I think he's played both nines already this week, right? It's Tuesday night when we're saying this, and
I don't think so.
he didn't get nine in Monday.
Not that
Oh, okay.
I don't
But
think.
he was on property Monday
Oh yeah,
and got work in Monday.
bright and
Okay.
early. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. I for some reason thought he got nine in on Monday,
I
but
mean I could be wrong. I don't think he did though.
no. I mean, you're usually pretty good about that stuff.
I try.
What he got the front today or the
Fun
back?
today.
Okay. So probably you think he plays the back tomorrow or
Yes.
okay.
I think he kind of alluded to he was first in the media center this week. He kind of alluded to it. He knows this golf course.
Yeah.
Like
Which
I
is
don't
nice.
think
That didn't help last week at cricket either. I think there was some shots where it was like, and you kind of saw it Friday and then a little bit Saturday where like the rounds were slightly better in terms of course management and where to land it because it was more familiar.
yeah.
And I think with Quail and kind of Ranch and then upcoming at Colonial and then obviously Memorial, like three golf courses in a row where he's hit the shots on those holes. He's played it. Yeah. How many times have he played the Wells Fargo?
He's
Is he
played
once?
14 rounds at Quail
Oh,
Hollow,
okay. Yeah, so the
excluding the President's Cup.
oh, right. I forgot about the P Cup where he went 5-0. So, yeah, that's almost I with practice rounds, it's over 20 rounds at Quail.
Yeah.
It's definitely been the same, over 30 at Colonial Memorial, right? So there's some familiarity here. It'll be less about kind of learning the golf course too. And I think as we've talked a little bit about this season, it's like when there's more external factors, I think the game is not quite ready to rise above some of that yet. Um, so knocking out the course familiarity one is certainly an added bonus. The more I think about Quail and what I'm hearing about the way the greens are still going to be pretty firm, I'm getting kind of excited. Like it feels like it's gonna be kind of Big Ten football. Like it's gonna be tough. You're gonna have to run the ball.
10 points.
Um,
10 points
yeah,
the game.
it's gonna be middle of the greens and make a few putts. And it's not gonna be like the most exciting unless somebody in the Scheffler Rory class makes like a 3 or 4 birdie stretch run on Saturday, Sunday. Um, but there's nothing wrong with that at a major. It's gonna be a proper test, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, I second that. It played. I look back at 2017 and how Quail played, and just statistically, it fits how I kind of like my major championships. You got to just thrust tee to green,
Yeah,
and that's kind of what you had to do at Quail at 17. And I always love a tough finishing stretch. I know a lot of people like fireworks down the stretch, but I think a major tough
no,
finish,
yeah,
cars coming in, like that 16th or 18th stretch is fun.
yeah.
Uh,
16. I mean, God, all those holes are just brutal.
yeah, I think Quail gets a lot of crap, but I think it's a good test of golf, and I'll be excited uh,
Yeah,
for this week. I actually think it's better than some of the other PGA venues that they've went to in the last 5 to 8 years, anyway. So, I mean, we'll get into it in our live podcast, but I mean, there will not be any crapping on the venue for me. That's for
yeah.
sure.
I think we'll see. I don't think I don't have too many problems with it. I think it's maybe a little like same old, same old. Like I don't think some of the holes don't have a lot of character, maybe. There's not a lot of quirk to Quail. It's pretty like straightforward, but that kind of fits like this major championship um schedule in a way. Like obviously Augusta has quirk and character and the whole bit, and pretty much any open you go to has kind of soul and requires grit and determination. Like Portrush is going to be sick. Uh, and I'm now blanking on where the United States. Oh, Oakmont obviously is it just objectively like classic and northeastern and very just chilling, I guess would be the best way to put it. And I think Quail kind of slots in not in the same category as those, but in a nice like this is still a major championship and it's a slightly different one, and it's going to be remembered pretty uniquely this year. Um, Definitely way better than Valhalla, which is great.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't think I have any more Cricket Club thoughts, so I want to save a few for the live pod and
Yeah. No, only closing thought, just looking at triple double. Um, Good week. I mean, you and Bob had Cantlay, T4. I had Fleetwood, T4.
backdoor T4.
So some cash. Uh, I had the top week. I had Dan Berger, who had a nice $440,000 paycheck.
Yeah.
What
He
was
had a tough start to his week, but I think
Yeah,
he was even par or two over or something Thursday and finished with a 68 then, I think. And I was like, okay, that's
yeah.
it.
Little T11. I found it both good for myself and funny that both you and Bob had two guys that had a good old goose egg because they withdrew. You had Michael Kim and Bob had Team Rose.
Yeah, that's a
And
tough a tough one on a no cut event.
yeah, signature event $0.
Yeah.
That's kind of
And they
brutal.
were planning to play together Saturday, I think. And then Rose was like, I'm sick. And then Kim played three over par through 13 holes. And then he was like, my back hurts.
Flocking out.
It's like, okay, brother.
Yeah. Well, at least you didn't use a Scotty or a Rory in a week they did that.
Yes. Not, I mean, my Scotties are gone.
I
Um,
still have two. All
yeah,
right,
it would have,
last sneak peek with my. I don't plan on using Scotty in triple double this week, so
yeah. Is it a Scott? I'm excited to talk tomorrow.
it could
I
be.
mean, it can't not be a Scotty course, but it doesn't.
I don't think it is. He got a negative course fit, I think, for me. I mean, he's third. He's third in my model. He's been first, I think, in every tournament he's played. But I got Rory and Bryson both higher.
Yeah. I think a lot of the advanced, and then we're again getting too far into this, but I think all of the like metrics that you want to have the box checked off is like we're looking at another Rory Bryson
Yeah,
showdown, which I think is pretty cool. But it'd be nice if we got a little Spieth like injection into that,
that's
and
well
it
said.
would just be an all-time weekend.
That's well said. I'm kind of penciling in Scotty for Memorial. I think that'll be one of my uses of him.
Yeah, that's smart.
The second one I'll figure out, but I think Memorial is going to be. I think that's nearly the quintessential Scotty Scheffler golf course that we play on tour, and he's won
Yeah.
there. So
Well, because it's Augusta like for the North.
yeah, and I think it fits him even better because I think the rough's up there, and you got to drive it well.
Yeah. I want to get out to Memorial at some point in my career. That was the one thing that I didn't mention that, if you're listening and you haven't been to a tour event, if you can find a way to, be fortunate, and I feel fortunate that I've been able to go to Pinehurst, which was unreal. It's so cool seeing them hit the ball in person. Especially if you watch on PGA Tour Live a lot. You were talking about the range sessions, like you can tell who's going to play well or who's hitting the ball well, right? That at that level, those things translate usually. Um, like I remember Pinehurst and Spieth, like he missed every 4 footer on the practice greens. Do you remember that walking up and it's like
Yeah.
Michael's not grabbing the putts from out of the hole. They're rolling 3 or 4 feet by. But then you'd go to the range and it was like, oh, that's everything's smooth, it's locked in.
Yeah.
When we watched the kind of practice 9 on Wednesday, and it was um I don't think he actually putted anything out, which is kind of ironic, but there was probably 6 or 7 greens hit. So yeah, so if you can get out to an event, even if it's the Detroit event, or you know, the ranch or the Myrtle Beach, which by the way, didn't Mackenzie Hughes win that week?
Ryan Fox.
Oh, chills. Good for him.
Yeah.
But even that, like, it's cool to see these guys hit the ball like that. So that's my last thought of the day on that.
Yeah.
So
No, that's all I got. I want to say a 60% Truist Championship recap with 40%
yeah, we
PGA
did we
thoughts.
did a good job,
Yeah.
I think. It's
But
hard not to. It's already PGA week, and it's like we already have tee times, we already have weather forecasts, and it's exciting.
presser, yeah. But hope I could have hope I provided some sort of insight into my week at the Truist. I'm sure when we get into our live pod for the PGA, Bob will provide anything that he thinks is adequate to add. But yeah, thanks for listening and looking forward to talking some PGA Championship in our
Very
next
soon. Very soon.
live viewing. Take care.
Yes. Peace.